Our tent is a house. It's got 4 walls and a roof. Yeah, so what? Our house is portable. So what that it fits in a backpack? Man is naturally a nomadic animal, and I believe that we're meant to roam. And what makes me happy is waking up and opening my tent and seeing a river outside or the trees and knowing that last night's dream of me living in a house or whatever, that was just a nightmare. And here I am. I'm in my tent. I'm on the road, and that's what I guess makes me happy.
The story of Huck, or u/Hucksta, this week on Upvoted by Reddit. Welcome to episode 11 of Upvoted by Reddit. I'm your host, Alexis Elhanian. Hope you all enjoyed last week's episode about Michael coming out to the swole acceptance subreddit as transgender. That is not necessarily the community you might expect to find support from with something like being transgender, but that's exactly what happened. And I'm really grateful that Michael shared this story. Really an incredible person, and I'm just grateful to have had the time that I had to hear about this story and share it with all of you. This week, we'll be discussing homelessness. Though our purpose for highlighting this topic is not to make some grandiose political statement, we've been lucky to see Huck's posts throughout Reddit for years now, and we really just wanted to tell his story as well as the story of r/Vagabond, which is an amazing community. Huck is a really interesting character. In fact, you can tell that instantly just from seeing his Skype profile picture.
I have a picture of Destiny's Child as the profile picture on my Skype, back when they were a 4-person band.
And of course, he had a favorite member.
The one with the short hair, what was her name? Michelle, I think? I think she was always my favorite.
If you're a big Redditor, you might have seen many of Huck, or u/Hucksta's, posts bubble up to the front page. A little over a month ago, he posted a photo album of everything he travels with in his backpack to the r/Pics subreddit. That post alone generated over 4,400 upvotes and nearly 4,000 comments. His AMAs are incredible as well, and we'll link to them in the show notes. On these, he answers questions on everything from the dangers of hopping trains to addressing people's stereotypes of hobos that carry bindles and rob pies off of windowsills. Spoiler alert, bindles are a very ineffective way of carrying anything. And in my entire life, I have never seen a single person cool a pie on a windowsill. That just doesn't make any sense. But before we get to Huck's story, let's take a quick second to get a word from our sponsors. Oh, and I was about to cut into some smooth jazz, but then I just remembered. A user on r/Upvoted commented on last week's episode mentioning this is not actually smooth jazz. What we're about to play are some, quote, kicking groovy bass lines, unquote. That user is chloroformdias. Hope I got that right. So anyway, thank you. So here comes some kicking groovy bass lines. This episode is sponsored by Casper. Casper is an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price. Casper is revolutionizing the mattress industry by cutting the cost of dealing with resellers and showrooms and passing those savings on to you. Casper's mattresses are also really comfortable. They're basically a new hybrid mattress that combines premium latex foam with memory foam, so they're extra comfortable. This is what u/Swanton Soup had to say on the Buy It for Life subreddit. That's r/Buy It for Life. Quote, I own a Casper and just got it on Monday. First off, this company cares about both you, the customer, and changing the industry. It's not just all markup and viral marketing on their website. They really want to sell you a product that will improve your quality of life. Secondly, I've been pleased with the mattress so far. It takes a few days for your body to adjust to it, so I think I'm still going through that phase, but it's definitely a step up from my old one. Somebody else said it took them 3 days to go from like to love, so I'm hoping I get that feeling this week, unquote. And just for you, yes, just you, listener, you can get $50 towards any mattress by visiting casper.com/upvoted. What are you waiting for? Go to casper.com/upvoted and get started today. This episode is also brought to you by MeUndies. MeUndies makes really comfortable clothing that looks as great as it feels. They create high-quality men's boxer briefs, pajamas, women's briefs, lace thongs, sweatpants, and more. They even have contemporary artists create an exclusive MeUndies underwear design every month. Go to MeUndies.com/upvoted and you can receive free shipping and 20% off your first order. That's MeUndies.com UPVOTED. Now, the story of Huck, or u/Hucksta.
My name is Hucksta. I am the moderator of our Vagabond, and I've been on the road for 11 years. I grew up in Butler, Alabama. It was just a really small rural town, like you would imagine in the Bible Belt of the South. My mother is a school teacher in the public school system. She taught 12th grade English. My father was an over-the-road truck driver, which means that he went all across the country. He was usually gone for several days at a time. When I was really young, I didn't really get to go very far outside of my town or county, so my father would sometimes take me on trips with him because he was a truck driver. And we went to Louisiana one time, and we went to Arkansas one time, and for my entire life growing up, those were the only two trips I had really ever taken outside of the state. I think it sort of sparked my interest in traveling from an early age. It wasn't the catalyst that put me on the road, but it definitely planted this seed in my head from an early age that when I grow up, the only thing I want to do is get out of here and just see the rest of the world and meet people and just travel, you know?
But like many people, Huck's family life wasn't perfect. His dad was an alcoholic and died when Huck was young. He also had some serious disagreements with his mother as a young adult. This would become the impetus for his decision to hit the road in the first place.
When I was 19, I got busted with marijuana by my mother. I had left some in my room, and she really didn't tolerate drugs. You know, she's a mother from the rural South, and to her, marijuana is a dangerous drug. So she called the police on me. I was put in jail for, I think, around 3 months. And when I got out, we just ended up getting in more fights about marijuana, and she eventually just kicked me out of the house. And I was living on the streets, and I had nowhere to go. It was a small town, so they didn't have any sort of aid or assistance for homeless people. The town had never had homeless people before. I was, I guess, the first one. And so I was on probation at the time, and so I was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, you know. I was living on the streets in a town where I couldn't survive, and I was on probation, which means I couldn't leave. So I just decided to choose, you know, the only option I knew was just to call my probation officer, leave a message on her answering machine, and tell her, hey, you know, I'm going to San Francisco. There's nothing for me in this county. I'm homeless here. I'm just going to end up getting in trouble. So I'm going to San Francisco. If you want to get a hold of me, this will be my number. And she never called me back. So I guess everything went okay with that. It was my first time hitchhiking, so I was pretty intimidated getting on the road. I had to swallow my pride to just stick my thumb out. You know, I felt like I was being a bum, or I don't know. I felt guilty about it because of all these media stereotypes that you grow up watching and on movies and reading in books, and so I didn't understand the traveling life or being homeless or anything at the time. I just knew I had to stick out my thumb and get to San Francisco, and so it was hard. You know, being able to trust perfect strangers picking you up. Going to a city, and I had never been to a city before. I was from a small town. The biggest city I'd ever been to up until this point was Meridian, Mississippi, and it has less than 50,000 people. And here I am going to a city that has skyscrapers and, you know, urban yuppies and things like this. So it was really intimidating coming from the South and going to a place as modern and as well-cultured and intellectual as a place like San Francisco.
In San Francisco, Huck met a variety of different people, learned about the vagabond lifestyle, and came to realize that the situation was actually much better than he feared it would be.
Once I got to San Francisco, I finally met other kids that were in my exact same position. You know, they had been thrown out of their house, or they just got sick of the place they had been living, and they just hit the road because they didn't have any other options. And so when I met these kids and seen what they were doing, and saw how they were living and how they were feeding themselves, how they were finding places to sleep, their modes of transportation, it really opened my mind to like, wow, you can be happy and travel. You don't have to be like some bum that you see on TV or read about in a book. Like, it can be a very fun lifestyle, and once you learn all the little tips and tricks of the trade, it's very sustainable and can even be a luxurious lifestyle to an extent. Constantly stereotyped as a bum or a tramp or a gutter punk or something, and because society just knows one word for homeless people pretty much, and that's a bum. And that's wrong because there's so many different types of travelers. Like, a bum is somebody that stays stagnant in one area, usually sitting on a sidewalk and panhandling for booze or something, and pretty much sleeps on the sidewalks or in homeless shelters, where a hobo usually works as they travel. So you're not going to usually see us on the sidewalk panhandling for liquor or sleeping in an alleyway behind a dumpster or anything like that. We're a completely different breed. And there's really there's almost a dozen different types of travelers, and they're all quite unique to each and every other type of traveler.
Huck is currently 33 years old. Huck is currently 33 years old and has been traveling for over 11 years. He's been virtually every U.S. state, including Hawaii and Alaska. So how it usually works is that in every place Huck travels to, he'll stay as short as a couple hours to as long as 6 months at a time. So if he stays in one place for any substantial duration, let's say a couple days, he'll either find work or head to the next town. Needless to say, Huck has held a wide array of jobs.
I've been a beekeeper, I've been an iPhone repair technician, I've been a veterinary technician, I've been a coffee farmer, I've worked on boats in Alaska, I've worked on farms in Hawaii, I've been a dishwasher, a carpenter, a painter, a crane toy operator. There's so many jobs that I lose track of. At least had 200 jobs, if not more, in the past 11 years. Usually when I get to a town, the first thing I'm doing, actually when I'm on the train or either in someone's car hitchhiking going to the town, I'm already on Craigslist looking for jobs. And at first I just look through the general jobs section, and if I can't find anything or there's way too much spam on it, which is often the case with Craigslist, I'll just type in specific keywords of jobs that I know are always hiring in every single town that you go to, and that's stuff like construction, dishwashing, laborer, helper, words like this. And I've never been in a town where I could not find a job, and whether that's a town of only a few thousand people or whether that's a town of a few million people, if you're looking for a job, you can find it. And if you don't have access to Craigslist, and sometimes there's been in my travels, I didn't have a smartphone or a laptop or anything, and so I would go to the public library and use Craigslist there. And if I can't find anything on Craigslist, if the town is too small and doesn't use Craigslist a lot, then go to every single restaurant you see, go to every single construction site you see, and don't just go up and ask one of the workers or the clerk for an application and fill it out and send it in. Like, that's just such a half-assed effort. If you really want a job, you really got to pursue it, is from what I've learned. And when I go into a store, I ask for the hiring manager. If the hiring manager isn't there, I ask when will the hiring manager be there. And when the hiring manager is there, I show up, I look clean, and I ask for an application. And I don't just walk out with the application. I sit right there, I fill it out as fast and accurately as possible, and I ask if I can have an interview right now and if they're hiring. And if they can't interview me right then, I'll call back the next day, and I'll call back the next day after that. I don't care if I have to worry the living shit out of them. If they're not going to hire me, then fine, okay, I'll annoy them over the phone. But if they are going to hire me, then they're probably going to do it once they see that kind of ambition and that motivation of me coming and knocking on their door every day or constantly calling, So I've never been, even during the economic crash, I remember hearing people like yuppies and stuff in the bar talking about, it's so hard to find a job, recent college graduates and all this. And there I was, a hobo with no ties to any family or local friends or job connections or anything. And I showed up in town completely homeless, and I found a job my second or third day. So, even during the recession, if you were looking for a job hard enough and you really wanted it, you could go out and find it, and that's what I do.
Even as easy as Huck may make it sound, at the very least, homelessness adds a couple of extra steps to the process of finding work.
Well, obviously, when you want to go get a job, you don't want the employer to know you're homeless because that's kind of like an automatic strike right there. Nobody really wants to hire a homeless person. So I go, I make sure that I'm clean and I'm dressed. If I don't have if all my clothes are dirty, I'll either go to a laundromat and clean them, or I'll go to a thrift shop and buy a nice shirt and a pair of pants for like $5. I'll go with a resume already in hand. I keep my resumes on Google Docs, so I can just go to a library and pay 15 cents to print out a copy. And when I go there, I already have an address that I get from Craigslist. I usually go to the wanted apartment ads and find an address where somebody lists where they have several roommates or they're looking for a roommate, and I just use that address. And so I go up there and I don't tell them I'm homeless. I tell them I'm looking for a job and that I want to work.
Yet, the difficult part of Huck's strategy is that not all the jobs he works at are meant to be temporary employment. Even when Huck has a great job in a nice town with a wonderful place to stay, it's only a matter of time until he'll drop everything and just head out again on the road.
There's been a few occasions where the job was really, really cool job that I could definitely picture myself developing into a long-term career. Like, I was happy with my employers. I was happy with the actual job. I was happy with the pay, and I was happy with the town that I was in. So when all those things connect together like that, like, how can you not be tempted in staying with that? But I've tried it a couple of times, settling down while I've been on the road, and it's never lasted more than a few months. I immediately get cabin fever. Anytime I see a train go by, anytime that I see another vagabond out on the side of the road, I just start getting that itching in my feet, and I cannot get it off my mind.
On the flip side, during Huck's travels, not all of the 200 jobs that he's worked have been completely safe situations either.
Down in Hawaii, ended up giving tours to the volcano, the lava flow. And it wasn't really tours, I was just taking friends and tourists down there because I knew how to get to the lava flow. I was willing to take that risk of taking people out there. And I was taking people for free. Somebody might kick me down $10 or something like that as a donation. But really, I was just doing it because I loved going to the lava flow. And when people found out when I was going, they'd say, "Hey, could I come along?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, bring your friends," So while I was down there giving the tours, I was verbally assaulted by some Hawaiians that were also giving tours. And they were warning me to stay out of their territory and that they're the only ones that are giving lava tours and that nobody else can give it. And I kind of didn't take their warnings as serious as they really meant them to be. And they finally found me after giving more tours, after I was warned. They finally found me and beat me up pretty badly and was actively discussing how they were going to try and kill me when I finally made my escape. I had to run through the woods. But before I did that, they had already broken up a couple of my ribs, stolen my bag of stuff, which had everything I owned in it, busted my lip up pretty bad, and, kind of left me stranded in the middle of the woods. And even worse, man, right after they beat me up and they tried to chase me through the woods and couldn't find me, it started raining right then. So, I have no bag or nothing. I'm sitting here in the woods. I can't get out of the woods because they're up at the roadside trying to look for me. And it was raining on me, and there I am with broken ribs. So it really sucked.
As bad as that sounds, Huck was lucky just to get away from the situation with only a few broken ribs.
Some mutual friends of mine were doing the same thing that I'd been doing previously, and that is giving tours to the lava flow. And unfortunately, the same people who beat me up killed my friend and his girlfriend. Her body was thrown in the ocean, left for bait for sharks, and his body was strung up in a tree. Actually, they framed the murder on the boy, which is kind of a heated topic, but I know, and a lot of other people there know what really went down that night. They got away with it. You know, they have a lot of support down there. The locals, you know, their uncles are the cops, their aunts are the state senators, and that's how it goes down there in Hawaii.
Burying his friends is unfortunately something Huck knows far too well. He recently lost someone close to him named Hobo Whiskey in Kansas City.
With our subculture, there's different types of people. There's hobos, there's vagabonds, there's hitchhikers, whatever. Well, we all kind of have, in a lot of different cities, a guy that will hang around the hobo camps kind of long term, and we call him a home bum. And kind of what they do is just kind of look after the jungle, kind of keep things in line as an elder, help other people out with tips and advice on hitchhiking or train hopping out of town, because these are people that have 30, 40 years of that under their belt. And so we had this one guy that was a home guard in Kansas City that was named Hobo Whiskey. And what we would do with Hobo Whiskey is we'd carry him around in his wheelchair around town to different panhandling spots. And Hobo Whiskey was in his, you know, he was in a wheelchair. He's paralyzed from the Vietnam War, kind of a homeless casualty of that war for the past 30 years. And we'd push him around. The hobos would push our home guard around in the wheelchair, and he would panhandle up some money. You know, Whiskey was really good at panhandling. He was an old guy. He was in a wheelchair. He was a military veteran. You know, there's lots of reasons to feel sympathetic. And last night that I saw Hobo Whiskey, we had pushed him up to the median in his wheelchair. He made some money. We all went back to the camp. We pushed Whiskey back to his little campsite, and then we went and hung out at our little campsite. And a couple of us decided we needed to go back up to the gas station and charge our cell phones. Well, when we went up to the gas station and charged our cell phones, we saw a fire truck and an ambulance and a cop come by the truck stop and then pass over the bridge, and they seemingly stopped at what was kind of near our campsite. So we asked our two hobo friends, like, what's up with the cop and the fire truck and the ambulance that was just like right up the road from us? And they didn't even know that there was a cop or fire truck, because it was kind of like this hill or this overpass bridge that blocked the view of where they were, and that's where Hobo Whiskey's camp was. So immediately, all of us looked at each other and we're like, okay, if the cops weren't here at our campsite, they must have been at Whiskey's campsite. And so we all just looked at each other and we darted over the overpass, and we went to the top of the hill, and we were expecting to look down into the woods to find Whiskey's camp, you know, his tent and his tarp and everything. And we looked down and there was nothing there. And so we were kind of wondering, like, what the hell? There's no way Whiskey could have moved his camp in the middle of the night. The guy's like half paralyzed. You know, he had already had his whiskey. Yeah, and of course, I need to remind you, the reason Whiskey's name was Whiskey is because Whiskey would wake up and drink like a full fifth of whiskey for breakfast. Like, that was his bacon and eggs. By the time it got 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Whiskey had already pounded like a 12-pack of beer and a couple of fifths of whiskey. So when we had dropped Whiskey off at his camp earlier that day, you know, he had his fifth of whiskey and he had his cans of beans and everything should have went well. But we got to the top of the hill and we couldn't find his camp anymore. So we're really wondering, what happened here with the cops and Whiskey's camp not being there and everything. So we dart down the hill and we run off into the woods to where Whiskey's camp was, and we found nothing but the charred remains of his tent. The blue jeans that he was wearing that day was like 50% burned up. I dug into the pocket of the blue jeans and I found his pocket knife, which Whiskey went everywhere with his pocket knife. So right when we saw that, we knew something bad had happened. You know, the jeans that he was wearing was burned up and his pocket knife was still in there. And it was kind of at that time, it kind of sunk into us that Whiskey had been cooking food inside of his tent, and that, you know, he had burned down his tent along with himself. When we walked away from that campsite, we were all really, really depressed. It had blown our entire night. We couldn't even finish our beers that we had. And then this preacher came down the hill, and this preacher had been a preacher at a local church, and he had helped Whiskey out throughout the years, you know, bring him some socks or bring him a few cans of food. And the preacher came down to inform us that Whiskey was in the hospital and that Whiskey was in critical condition. and that he was in the ICU, and it gave us some hope, because we surely thought Whiskey was probably dead. He was paralyzed in a tent that was on fire. His blue jeans were completely burned with his pocket knife still in it. Then later that night, suddenly this kid comes running down the hill. And I don't mean a kid. He's like 20, 27, 28 years old or something. He comes charging down the hill towards our camp, yelling at us. And first thing I noticed in his hand was an open knife. So, we're all 3 or 4 hobos sitting around camp, and we all got our knives on us and various weapons, whether it's brass knuckles or monkey fist or a can of pepper spray or whatever. And he comes darting down the hill with a freaking pocket knife, and he's expecting to deal with 3 or 4, rugged hobos that are well armed. And he recognized real quickly that he had ran into a hornet's nest, that we were not the typical characters that you want to get into a fight with, that we were ready to fight. We were way better armed than this guy, and way more prepared for dealing with sort of a impromptu violent thing that can happen in life. So he immediately put his knife away, and he yelled down at us. He was like, "Which one of you motherfuckers killed my uncle?" And we're looking at him like, "What the hell are you talking about? Your uncle killing somebody? Well, what the hell are you talking about?" And he announces that he's Whiskey's nephew. And when he announced that, man, it just clicked in my head right down like the word killed. So I just argued with him. I said, "Hey, man, we just had the preacher come by a couple hours ago, and your uncle's not dead, and nobody killed him. Your uncle's in the hospital, and he burned his own tent down around him. Your uncle's alive." And he passed on the more updated information to us that his uncle had not made it through the hospital, and he had died in ICU. And when that kid told us that he died, it just shook us all up really bad. And eventually the kid, he realized that we were just innocent hobos, and he came down and he sat around the fire with us, and we all shared stories of Whiskey and kind of started mourning his death and everything. And that was just a couple of months ago. That was the second hobo that, so to speak, that I've had to bury in the past 3 or 4 months. So you have to deal with a lot of people dying.
Wherever Huck's travels took him, Huck made lifelong friends and memories. As someone who has always embraced technology, Huck soon discovered Reddit and found it was a great place to share his experiences.
I started on Reddit about 3.5 years ago, and I started submitting pictures and stories of my travels just to put them out there, just as kind of like a guide if anyone else is interested in this lifestyle. And all of a sudden, Reddit was really interested. I immediately started getting all kinds of, my inbox would get blown up. Anytime I would submit anything, my inbox would just blow up the next day. I've had a director come and travel on the road with me for 6 weeks doing a documentary. He met me on Reddit. Another guy that met me on Reddit housed me and gave me a job for a few days while I was passing through his town. There's been so many things. This is like asking me what my favorite song is, because I could just try to mention 100 of them and I can't even think of 5.
In fact, Huck has even claimed to have met more Redditors in person than anyone, except for me. So after the break, we'll be speaking with him about the start of his subreddit, r/vagabond. We'll talk about him meeting a director through Reddit who shot a documentary on him. And we'll even hear from a Redditor named Rin, who recently just quit her job to hit the open road with Huck. This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. As I mentioned earlier, MeUndies makes really comfortable clothing that looks as great as it feels. But you don't have to take my word for it. A user named Salvador Stealth wrote this on the male fashion advice subreddit. Quote, "I've bought one pair and love them. I'm now subscribed, and we'll see about their durability." End quote. 5 months later, that Redditor followed up saying this. Quote, "I wish that they were all I had. Eventually I'll get all my underwear replaced with them." Unquote. MeUndies are known for their great fit. They don't ride up. Apparently they even pull moisture away from your skin so you can stay refreshed. Who knew? They guarantee you're going to be happy with them or your first pair is free. So really you risk nothing. So for free shipping and 20% off your first order, go to MeUndies.com/upvoted. That's MeUndies, MEUNDIES.com/upvoted. One of the coolest things Huck, or u/Hucksta, has done on Reddit is to create the r/vagabond sub.
Our Vagabond just kind of serves as a community for all types of low budget travelers to sort of unite together because people that are in the traveling, low budget traveling world like us that are homeless travelers, we travel any way that we can and we use a variety of methods. And so our Vagabond, I just wanted to serve as a place for that. And equally, I wanted to serve as a place for other people that are interested in traveling to be able to come and talk to real travelers and get the real, the lowdown on traveling from real travelers on what it's going to be like when they hit the road. And that's not only the good things that are going to happen, but also what are the bad sides of this. I mean, if you go on our Vagabond right now, one of the newest posts we have is from a user that's specifically asking us to talk them out of choosing their lifestyle. And what they want is to really hear the nitty gritty of the bad things that can happen in the road. And that's really intelligent that that person posted that, and that tells me that they're really educating themselves about getting on the road. And for me, that confirms that our Vagabond is doing exactly what I intended it to do. For travelers to be able to share their own stories together with other travelers, and for potential would-be travelers to ask real travelers, what is it going to be like when I get on the road? Give me some advice. Show me some pictures. Let me hear your stories. So it's kind of a little shell for us to, kind of be proud of our pictures and our stories and things like that.
It was actually through that subreddit that Huck caught the attention of student/director Tanner Masseth.
Hey, I'm Tanner Masseth, and I'm doing a documentary on Huck. I got in touch with Huck through Reddit, actually, fall of 2013, when the project got off the ground. Somewhere along the way, I was doing research on Reddit, train hoppers and other things within the subculture, and I found Huck's AMA from, what will be 4 years ago now. And I read through the whole thing and saw all of his responses, and then I went through his whole account, and eventually, through his answers and everything, I sort of connected the dots and put everything together and found out what his real name was. Because I think in his AMA, he said his father had died, and he had given his brothers names and where he was from, and I was able to track down the funeral records and get his name, and I found him on Facebook, and I sent him a message telling him what I was about, what I was trying to do, and that I'd seen his AMA, and, if he would at all be interested. And he responded immediately with his phone number and just said, call me. And I called him as soon as I got out of class that day, and he was actually, he was in San Francisco at the, he was smoking pot on the front porch of the Full House, and he had told me how he had, I think I was on the phone with him, and the porch light had come on, and he had gotten kicked out. And we started talking, and we talked, week after week for months until we were ready to go. And so that's how I found him.
Though preparing to shoot such a film is no easy feat.
It was tough because we didn't really know what to expect. I think I knew enough about the lifestyle and how to live it and what I needed to do it, but I didn't know how to make a film simultaneously and what that would cost and what it would take. Where we started was just okay, let's pick a camera, that's going to be our biggest cost, and go with that. And from there, I pretty much just asked Huck, I was like, what are the tools you have? What do you use them for? What do you recommend we get for 2 months? And I followed his lead, and I looked at some other stuff that we might need. And the hard part was that on top of that, Huck is carrying one bag of his belongings on his back, everything he needs, right? We were trying to do that, plus, 40 pounds of equipment.
The documentary, I believe it's going to be called Transient. He came out and actually lived my lifestyle for 6 to 8 weeks. These kids were from Chicago, so I didn't know if these city kids were going to be able to take the lifestyle, they were going to be able to adapt, were they going to be able to actually perform at their jobs while learning to adapt. And they really surprised me. Both of them did the exact same lifestyle as me. They didn't do anything with money that I didn't do. The only thing they would really splurge that I wouldn't do is sometimes they would go get a coffee and a donut. Every morning they would find somewhere to get a coffee and a donut. And that was really the most expensive thing they did. They slept on the dirt with me, in the tents with me, they hopped the trains with me, they hitchhiked with me, they went to jobs with me, they got, everything. They did everything with me. And so I guess the documentary is what he wants to do is just kind of give America a glimpse of this underground lifestyle that most people have no idea that exists.
And as Huck mentioned earlier, the Vagabond community on Reddit is also a place where many people go to learn about and explore the hobo lifestyle. A fellow Redditor named Rin actually reached out on the subreddit about where to even begin. Huck graciously walked her through the process, told her all the equipment that she'd need to buy, set her up with another female travel companion, and is even taking her on her first few stops on the road.
Hi, my name is Ren, and I met Huck off Reddit, and we're going to be traveling tomorrow. Well, I mean, I've always been adventurous, so it's something I was always curious about, but then I actually met someone in town who did it, and I started to do more research, and I found out that, it had a name, like Vagabonds, and so I looked it up on Reddit, and I made a post of how I wanted to start living that lifestyle, and Huck was one of the first people to reach out and message me about it.
While we were speaking, Rin was taking her last lunch break from her job at Whole Foods. The next day, she was set to leave her town and meet up with Huck in Alabama. During the call, she was laying down at a beautiful park outside Charlotte, North Carolina, explaining to us why she decided to trade in her stable life for that of the road.
In this past fall, I started to see the world differently, and I'm just noticing like all these houses and cars and shopping malls and fast food restaurants, and I started to realize that we don't need any of this stuff. And I feel like it just really clouds our mind from what's really important living our lives and making us happy. The vagabond lifestyle, I feel like you spend so much time outdoors and just really doing what you want, and you're not so caught up in living a certain kind of life, like getting a job, working 9 to 5, and paying for a house and filling it with stuff that you just really don't need. I think it's a lot about what our purpose here on life is. And I feel like when I talk about that with some of my friends, they're just like, don't worry about that kind of stuff. Let's go see what's in the newest magazine or the new movie that's out. No, I just feel like there's so much that we need to figure out. I feel like I don't belong on this planet. I feel like it's really important to feel like, kind of like what your purpose is here. And that's just what I spend a lot of time thinking about, and there's not a lot of people actually that I found that think that way. A lot of travelers, they're living like how we used to when we were first on the planet, like when we were evolving. We didn't have any of these houses, we weren't working, we were just surviving. We were always walking around, gathering food, and just always outside. And I feel like that's the way that we're really supposed to live.
Rin also shared with us that another one of the reasons she was hitting the road was as a way to combat her depression.
For me, it is something I've dealt with for a long time. Like, I've seen counselors, I've been taking meds. I've always had issues handling my depression or just emotions in a positive or healthy way. I feel like it's going to help in the healthiest way. I have to really actually deal with them instead of depending on like food or medicine or just anything self-destructive. I feel like will kind of be taken away, and I'm just going to be really, I really just have to just deal with anything that might come to my head. When I have my home, I have all these things around me that I use to just not deal with that emotion, and most of the time, I definitely eat my feelings. I've dealt with bulimia for like 6 years. I eat everything I possibly can, and then I feel bad about it, and I get rid of it. So I feel like on the road, I have that around me so much, and I'll be busy all the time, and I have more important things going on in my head, like how am I going to get on this train safely, or where am I going to go next? I fear for my life more living here in my home than I do going out. It's just my depression has gotten that bad that I'm afraid of what I might do if I stay here any longer. And people have been just like, go girl, just go out on the road, because I was the same way. I was super depressed, and then once I started living outside and meeting all these great people, I've been the happiest I've ever been.
Though Rin is also aware that this won't be a cakewalk, there's a lot of danger that has arisen with female travelers in the past, and she knows she has to be careful.
You gotta be like realistic about it. Like, I'm not saying I'm not gonna expect, roses and daisies all day. I know if like people gotten stabbed and of course lost their legs riding the rails, and I don't even want to think about rape, but.
I do know girls that have been raped on the road. In fact, just a few months ago, a girl traveler that was recently traveling with me, she was hitchhiking through Alabama and she ended up getting raped. She was one of the more hardcore girls I've actually ever met on the road. If you're a girl, I get this question on Reddit all the time. You have just as many women that are sick of living in modern society as men, and I have a lot of women asking me that very question: is it safe for women on the road? And I so wish that I could say yes, because I really, really believe that having more female influence on the road, I think it's great for the traveling society. But the sad fact is that it's not safe for a female to be alone on the road.
Huck has even met women with children on the road.
I've seen one girl that had a kid with a lifestyle, and this was actually while I was sitting on Hollywood and Vine the night that we were browsing Craigslist for jobs. We saw a hobo girl walk by with her huge backpack, and she had her baby kind of rigged to the backpack. Now, the baby was safely rigged to the backpack and everything, but she was obviously homeless. She was playing music on the street for money. And while we were sitting on the corner, she was standing on our corner waiting for the red light to change so that she could cross the street. And immediately a cop walked by, and he saw her with the baby on the backpack. He came and started talking to her. Then he called for other cops to come, and me and 3 or 4 other people were just sitting there just a few feet away watching this girl get interrogated by the cops. And they eventually, took her into the cop car and took her baby. I was automatically at first kind of defensive of the hobo girl, like, hey, she's probably cool, and she probably feeds her baby well or whatever. But as an adult, and not just as a hobo, it's not a good lifestyle for a kid. That's completely. This baby was like under 2 years old. And with a girl that was alone, there's so many risks on the road, from sexual predators, thieves that would take advantage of you because you're an unarmed female. It's just not a safe lifestyle for a baby. So I think what the cops did was justified.
Because of all this, Rin is incredibly thankful she was able to find Huck on Reddit.
Well, he first just messaged me, and he actually just messaged me, and he actually told me that there is a woman that I might get along with really well, that we could travel together. And so he gave me her number, and we started talking, and he's been so helpful. He tells me everything that I should bring, and then when I told him that I was thinking about leaving early, he's like, if you need me to come meet you, I will come meet you somewhere so I can teach you what to do so you're safe. If I need to take a break off work, I will. So he's just been unbelievable. I would be a lot more hesitant if I didn't have Huck come along and tell me that he would be able to teach me everything that I need to know.
But before we leave, Huck and Rin wanted to leave you Redditors with one last message.
Honestly, yeah, I think this is the first time where I feel like I'm actually going where I'm supposed to, because I struggled with depression and other things since high school, and it's been a long time since I felt where I really belonged anywhere. Once I met my friend who lives in this town, who traveled all around, I was just like, that's exactly what I want to do. That's what I've always wanted to do. I just didn't think it was kind of like possible. And then since then, I've met so many other amazing people, and I just have these great conversations with them. And I'm just like, yes, finally, someone who gets it. And so it's been a blessing to find Huck and other Redditors and everyone.
If people are interested in this lifestyle, drop by our Vagabond. It's an open community for whether you're on the road or you're just curious about people that are on the road. So if you enjoyed this podcast and you have any other questions for us that you don't feel like got answered, come over to our Vagabond and ask away.
So, big thanks to Huck, Tanner, and Rin for making this episode happen. There were so many great stories, we just didn't have time to include them in this episode. Huck discussed everything from how he's currently attending online classes at ASU, to how he maintains a monogamous relationship on the road, to stories of his fallen brethren. I could listen to him for hours. Actually, let me know if you all are interested in hearing a part 2 with Huck, which would consist of him sharing more of his amazing stories from the road. Let us know. The best way to reach us, as always, is in the thread for this episode on our subreddit at r/upvoted, or, for those not familiar, upvoted.reddit.com. Lastly, Tanner and Huck are shooting for a summer release date for their documentary film, Transients.
I'd love to have it done for the summer, because I want to hit the festival circuit. There's some, big festival deadlines in the summer and leading into the fall that I'm done for. I have this fantasy that we get into some festivals and we stop, we get off the train and we, hike to, some festival or whatever and watch our film in the theater, smelling like crap, and then doing a Q&A afterwards.
And ideally, Tanner and Huck would like to start filming a new web show next summer as well.
Huck and I are trying to plan a web series this summer. I want to enjoy it a little bit more, and I want to plan. Obviously, now knowing the cards on the table and what it was like trying to film while doing it, and we could self-fund this web series so that we could go out and do that together, and in the end, it would be worthwhile. It would be a lot of fun.
So stay tuned for all of that on the r/Vagabond subreddit. I have to admit, I didn't know what to expect with this episode. Thinking about it at first, I thought, all right, well, this guy's an amazing storyteller, so I know we're going to get some good stories out of it. And seriously, we got a lot, more than we could fit in this episode, but more on that later. I think the other thing that really struck me is that there's no shortage of communities on Reddit dedicated to living more minimal lifestyles. I mean, there's our minimalism for that matter. But there are a lot of communities, in fact, I think a growing number of people all over the world who are thinking twice about the importance of stuff in their lives. Now, I, for one, am not going to start vagabonding anytime soon. But I have to admit, I was impressed and kind of captivated with this idea of just leaving behind all of the things, all of the pursuits that we're told from a very young age that we need to go after in order to be happy. People and experiences are the things that matter. And yes, Huck is living a very extreme version of this life, but he's found peace. It really made me wonder how many of the people who are striving to lead that traditional life are genuinely happy. And maybe it's not for everyone. And if Huck and the community on r/Vagabond can find an alternative way to live and be productive and just content, why not? If you haven't already, please subscribe to Upvoted on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, whatever you like. We couldn't do it without you. And I also would like to thank Unbabble for providing transcription and translation services for this show. Every single episode of Upvoted by Reddit has a transcript both in English and in Espanol under the relevant links for every episode, or in the subreddit's wiki. You can find that again at upvoted.reddit.com. Basically, you should subscribe. This subreddit has everything. Everything. Really, everything. We've thought about everything. If we're not remembering something, please let us know and we'll add it. Thanks again for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you again next week on Upvoted by Reddit.